we go.
Okay, thanks very much. Good evening, everybody. Just wanted to welcome you to tonight's Club and League Forum. I hope you and your families are all well and have remained well through this really difficult period. And I'm sure, like everybody at the Notts FA as well, just really keen and eager to get football restarted, really. We've got a number of staff members tonight who are going to present various elements of the agenda. Do you want to click onto the agenda there, Mark? Or yeah. Okay, so as you can see, there's various topics. And I'd also like to say thank you to everybody who's submitted questions already, which has helped to formulate this evening's agenda. So the first thing on the agenda is secure check-in. And to talk us through that, I'd like to introduce you to Claire Bartlett, who will talk about she's from Sports Payment Solutions, and she's going to talk about the secure check-in and how it can help with the test and trace. So over to you, Claire, please.
Hi everyone, and thanks for the introduction there, Elaine. Just turn my camera on quickly so I can share my screen. Obviously, I don't want to take up your entire evening. I know you've got a really busy agenda. So if I share my screen with everyone, bear with me. Okay, so hopefully you can all see my screen now. Is that the case?
Yeah.
Can you see?
Yeah.
Yep. Brilliant. Okay, we're a go. That's great. So yes, I'm from Sports Payment Solutions. We also we're trading currently as Secure Check-in, which is a subsidiary company of ours, but it is taking over, quite frankly. It is a check-in solution which is there to help you manage, test and trace. Obviously, the NHS, the government have put out the guidelines that you need to be monitoring whoever arrives on your site. You need a name and a phone number. Currently, there's people books on bars, which isn't particularly safe. Anyone can see the information. Or the other one we've heard clubs doing is sending around a volunteer with a clipboard to try and capture everyone's details. Once again, you're not likely to capture everyone doing that. And you're also sending someone who, as a lot of the volunteers tend to be older people who are potentially quite vulnerable to the virus, and you're asking them to wander around everybody. So that's not particularly safe either. So we have this solution for you. It is being used by quite a lot of football clubs now throughout Suffolk and Derbyshire. There's a few others on the fringes as well. And the feedback's been excellent. So what you can see here on the right hand side of the screen is our basic poster. You're welcome to play along if you have a smartphone. All you need to do, if you have an iPhone, just open up the camera and point it at the QR code. If you have an Android phone, you will either have a QR reader downloaded on there. If it's really new, you'll be able to just point the camera at it. And if it's an older phone, you might just need to type in the web address here at the bottom of the poster. All you do then is put in your name, your telephone number. And if you've had to go to the web address, you'll need to enter in this code, SCIHQ. You're welcome to check in. It just gives you an experience of how quick and easy it is. Most people manage to do it in a couple of seconds. Sometimes your first time might take a little bit longer, but we find people get used to it very quickly. We've got Hurst Castle down on the south coast using this. They have an older volunteer, a chap called Pat, who's in his 80s. He was dead set against it. Then he used it once, fell in love with it, and he's now one of our biggest supporters, bless him. He absolutely adores the system. It has been life-changing for them, apparently. So once you're checked in, that is the customer journey. That is as easy as anything. You know, we've tried to make it really simple. So for the clubs, what we do give you, most importantly, is a way to manage this. So on our website, there's a sign in button up here. You just put in your email address and password, sign in, and then you have access to your dashboard. So, I can see quite a few of you checked in. Wonderful. You can see, obviously, there's a couple of characters in there who aren't from you. They may be from Harry Potter, if anyone reads that. Right, so this is your dashboard. This is where you get to manage how many people have checked in. You can see if everyone in your team, for instance, has checked in, if that's how you want to do it. And this is where you have complete control of everything. So we've tried to make it as self-service as possible. You can sign up online. and you are ready to go straight away. When you sign up online, you'll instantly be given your own unique QR code and your own unique ID number. You can download the QR code and put it on your own personalised merchandise as much as you like. We've heard, well, a lot of people are using posters, but we've heard of window stickers, beer mats, business cards, all sorts of things being used. Just to help you get started, the template poster that you saw on the first page, you can download that here. That will already be populated with your unique code and your unique QR code as well. And it really is that simple. So if you have someone who arrives on site who doesn't have a smartphone, you can check them in yourselves here. Just name, phone number, complete check-in. If you want to go back and see previous dates, all you do is click back through the dates here and you can see all the different check-ins. And that goes up to 21 days. So we only store data for 21 days. After that, it gets securely destroyed. All data is stored on an encrypted hard drive. Don't ask me how it works. That would be Matt, who's the brains behind that, but he has assured me it's completely encrypted, so no one can access it outside of here. Now, what we've given you down here on Manage Users is the ability to have more than one person using this platform. So all you do, if you set it up yourself, you'll automatically become the administrator. That means you can do everything on here. You can create new venues, you can add new users, you can generate the all-important test and trace report if you get that dreaded phone call from Public Health England. What you can also do, though, in order to keep the data safe, you can create standard users. So we found a lot of football clubs have got the secretary, for example, or the chairman has the administrative privileges, but they've also set up their coaches, their managers, whoever they feel needs to be able to view check-ins and create check-ins as standard users. So that means they can see everything on this form. So they can see the name and the last 4 digits of the phone number and how many guests they've checked in and what time they've checked in at. And they can use this bit, but they can't do anything else. We've done that just to keep the data safe. There is also an option for group check-in. So you can choose to turn this on and off at a venue. So you can see we've got Bellatrix Lestrange has checked in with 4 guests. That gives you a more accurate head count. Now, not everyone wants that available on each venue. There have been some people that want everyone to have to check in individually, but others want to let family groups check in together, for example, and that gives you more accurate head count. Now, if you want to add a venue, you simply go here, click add new venue. I'm just making up an address here. I know that's not in Nottinghamshire postcode. Enable group check-in and then create venue. So you can see I've just created a venue called Knots, put the address in, and instantly it's given me that unique code and that QR code. It's that easy. And if you want to turn group check-in off, just edit venue, click it again, update venue, and that turns that function off. It's that simple. So if you get a phone call from Public Health England, all you do is come down here and click test and trace report. You select which venue it is you're running the report for, what date you want to run the report on. You consent that you are only using the data for test and trace, and then you create the export. I won't export that now because obviously people have checked in, so it has got personal data on it, but that will download as a CSV file, which is an international Excel format. It's a spreadsheet. And then all you have to do is forward that onto Public Health England. And it really is that simple. I don't think I've missed anything out. Yeah, I've done users. Oh, this button here lets you monitor who's exported reports. We've put that in as a security check. So any administrator, if they feel for some reason that perhaps their login's been compromised, they can check whether or not anyone's downloaded any data. And we've got a couple of pubs that are using this just to make sure that their managers aren't deciding to download data and do their own in-house marketing campaigns. But we've also got a software program that runs in the background, and it monitors any downloads that happen. So we will contact you if we see an unusual amount of downloads. You know, if we notice you're downloading one every single Friday, we'll probably get in touch and say, you know, what's going on. But that's it. It really is that simple. We've got some new features coming out, so there will be the ability to check out. And once again, you'll have that option under your edit venue button, where you can choose whether or not you want people to check out of venues. We've had a lot of people request that, so we're putting it in. And most importantly, we're going to be adding a sort of event management button in. So we're still developing it at the moment. We'll be releasing it in early September, but it's going to give you contactless ticketing. So it means that you will be able to sell tickets for your football ground, or any event really. You can come onto this dashboard, you can set the event up, you can set the price or the prices if you want to have concessions and things like that. And you can put the link on your social media, on your website, wherever you like. People can go on and purchase tickets. It means you can manage your crowd capacity. So if you've got a limit of 120 people, you can set 120 tickets. You know, no one else is showing up that doesn't have them. It will ask the person buying the tickets for their name, their phone number, and their email address. It will email the ticket to them with a barcode, which you are going to be able to scan from your own smartphone. Or we are going to be sourcing some barcode readers if clubs want to use an actual barcode reader. Upon scanning that, it will confirm to you that the ticket is valid and how many people the tickets are for, and what type of ticket, whether it's an adult, a child, a concession. And you will then just be able to let them in through the turnstile. So it's a lot better than handling cash. It's contactless, as we say, but what it will also do, it will automatically check these people in on your dashboard for test and trace. So you're not going to have to go and then ask them to scan in for test and trace. They will already be checked in upon presentation of their ticket. And you will also be able to run free events. So if you don't charge for people attending your football matches, but you still need to limit your spectators, people can book tickets. Obviously, the same things happen. You scan them in, but it means you know how many people are showing up, how many people you've got on site, and yeah, that's about it really. We're doing half price because we're in partnership with Nottinghamshire FA. So we're going to do a 50% discount, which means it's either £20 a month or £200 for the year. There's no contract. If you want to cancel, just get in touch and say you want to cancel. But so far, everyone's been really happy with it. So if I stop screen sharing, has anybody got any questions?
If you've got any questions to ask, if you just raise your hand, and we'll give you 30 seconds or so to raise your hand before moving on.
Sorry, it was a real whistle-stop tour, but I don't want to take up too much time.
That's okay, Claire. Is it worth just sort of telling people about the discount code and how they actually access that?
Yeah, so the discount code is NOTSFA. I can pop that in the meeting chat for you along with my email address if anyone has any questions outside of this. And you'll also get a 7-day free trial. So when you sign up online, you get charged nothing for 7 days. We're not going to ask your payment details right away because we're not going to try and trick you into forgetting like some people do. It is literally just sign up, crack on with it. If you need to extend your trial because you need to speak to the committee, let me know. That's not a problem. We try to be as accommodating as possible. We are genuinely here to help people. So Matt, the other founder of this company, my partner in crime, as it were, he is a referee in Suffolk and a youth coach, and I think he's on a committee as well. He's mad about football. He absolutely loves it. I wish he could have been here this evening because he loves to fill it all with anecdotes as to what he's been up to and what he's seen with various football clubs.
Okay, that's brilliant. So we're going to do an announcement on our website in the next couple of days, plus on social media. So we'll get that out to everybody, and obviously we'll speak to you, Claire, before we do that, so you can be part of that announcement. But we're delighted to be in partnership with you and hope that clubs will see the benefit and certainly the legwork that it takes out of that monitoring of who's coming through the gate, really. So
Yeah, the feedback has been absolutely fantastic, and we have been working on improvements based on any feedback we've had where people have said, oh, it would be really handy to have a feature where, you know, you can click a remember me, so every training night I just have to open up the code and I'm in. We're introducing that. We are working on people's feedback all the time, but the feedback's all been positive. It's just been, oh, can you add this feature? And we are trying to accommodate everybody. And it keeps developing. But if you want a run through the platform again, just go to the website. I'll pop that in the comments as well. And there is a explainer video on there which walks you through the entire platform.
Lovely, brilliant. Thanks very much, Claire. Thanks for your time. Are there any questions, Mark? Or
I've got no questions at the moment, nor have we got any hands raised. So if
okay.
I'll go share my screen and continue the presentation. Is that all right?
I will leave you here then. Lovely to meet you all. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
So. Just give me a second while I share the right screen across for you.
Brilliant.
Okay, so Leanne, unmute yourself and it's over to you.
Thanks, Mark. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's well. Really nice to be able to sit and have this Teams call tonight, because hopefully that means that we are that much closer to football happening. So just want to give you a little bit of an update, a COVID update. Hopefully, just a bit of a summary, really. If there's any specific questions, we can take them and we can answer them. But obviously, I'm sure you've all read every little bit of information that's come out. So obviously, just want to try and just hit the main points. So just from a business perspective and a county FA, very brief update, really, in terms of where we are. You'll all be aware that we was in the position that we had to furlough pretty much the whole of our workforce, barring a couple. A few months ago, we're now in a position where we've had a number come back, a number return, some of those part-time. We are in a position now, however, that as of the 1st of September, all staff will return from furlough and be working back full-time. We will share more information on what that looks like and who they are and roles and responsibilities and things like that in due course. But obviously, hopefully you'll welcome the return of them. I know they've been desperate to get back. The office itself will be open manned from Tuesday the 8th of September. We are going to maintain that there needs to be an appointment system for that. So if people do need to come in to see us for whatever reason, we'd love to see you, but please get in touch with the relevant individuals. And again, we'll share more information on how to go about that. And I say, from the 1st of September, our website's going to have all the information that it needs to have to let you know all that staffing information and how to access us. Let's move on, please, Craig. Mark. Wrong one. Okay, so the COVID update, return to football, which I'm sure you're all up to speed with. Just a couple of key points, really, just to reiterate and to consider from the FA guidelines. Obviously, everyone needs to self-assess, so we need to carry on doing this. Obviously, I know that it's easy when I think numbers maybe decrease slightly, but we need to make sure that we maintain that self-assessment, and that's everybody. Not just a player, that's everybody in the household. Clubs and facility providers should ensure that the facility is compliant. Obviously, if you're not sure about the facility because it's somewhere you hire, make sure you're just asking those questions and that they are up with government legislation and guidance. But any issues, any concerns, obviously please raise them with the facility that you're hiring it from, and if you're not getting anywhere there, then please come and raise it with myself, and I'm happy to try and assist where I can. The link for the website's on there, because we will share the slides at the end of this along with the recording. That website address has got every part of our COVID update right back from when it started in March, every link that you need. Let's move on, please, Mark. There's been a few questions about COVID officer roles and responsibilities. So COVID-19 officer will be responsible for developing that COVID-19 plan and risk assessment prior to restart of any activity. Now, I know majority of clubs have done this. The COVID officer should continually monitor how compliance is being observed within the club. It would also be worth that COVID officer considering establishing a COVID-19 group to be responsible for producing and implementing it. It doesn't need to just sit with one person, especially for those larger clubs. There needs to be an approach from everybody. At each club, the COVID officer is responsible for clearly communicating the relevant guidance to its players, coaches and volunteers. And what I would stress is that this needs to be ongoing guidance. We can't just give it to people once and assume that's done. And obviously in competitive football activities, that COVID officer of each club must ensure a safety briefing is provided before the commencement of any fixtures. Now, if there's one COVID officer and there's 10 fixtures for that club, it can't be in person. So there has to be some form of strategy or document or something that can help them to do that. Moving on, please, Mark. So yeah, just where we're at now, obviously competitive training is now permitted, which obviously with groups limited to maximum 30, and that does include the coaches. Obviously that's not 30 per facility, that's 30 per training on that area of the pitch. Competitive match play is permitted, social distancing in place, players and officials should sanitise. Obviously I know that we'll touch on it in a bit, but I know a number of clubs have received club preparation funding to help that sort of thing at their facility. Keep the ball handling to a minimum. Obviously try and use the boot as best as possible. And youth football coaches, just think about that close proximity of the participants. Moving on, please, Mark. Again, a lot of the stuff that's in the guidance, things like goal celebrations should be avoided. You know, you're not going to stop a 10-year-old that's really happy that they've scored a goal necessarily from celebrating, but just think about and just sort of remind them on how they are celebrating. Not sharing equipment. Obviously, there's been a few questions around facilities, and I'll touch upon that in a second. But where possible, if people can arrive changed and then shower at home, so use of shower facilities, it goes back to, at the moment, that's around the government advice and the guidelines, which again I'll touch upon in a second. Best practice in terms of travel, obviously minimising public transport, walking, cycling, and obviously thinking about not car sharing unless it's people from the same household or a support bubble as best as possible. And obviously we talked about the track and trace, which obviously Claire's just touched upon in terms of an option, but obviously making sure that we're keeping that record. But obviously just bearing in mind the GDPR element around just the 21 days. So how are that information getting destroyed after 21 days? Yep, next slide, please, Mark. Yeah, so just around the facilities, obviously, so everyone's still popping in. The use of the changing and shower facilities is government advice, and as it stands at the moment, they still are to remain not used. So we can't use changing rooms unless you are in the National League system, which there's been new guidance around that. Obviously, what they are saying is if these facilities do remain closed under government guidelines, there may be some exceptions to that. Okay, so whereas there's safety and safeguarding measures that require that use, you are able to access them. So there may be supporting players with a disability, or if a child needs a change of clothes, things like that. What we are not able to do at the moment is open up a changing room prior to a game where sort of 11, 15 players can sit in there prior to that. Toilets, again, toilets can be and should be opened where possible. Obviously, we wouldn't advise any sort of pitches and facilities really being used without access to toilets, especially in the youth football. So they should be open pre-match or training, and then during the match and training, and only for 30 minutes afterwards. And then obviously after that, they need to have the same cleaning criteria as what the facilities should have outlined elsewhere, along with making sure there's some form of clear signage or a management of entry, parking, traffic flow and movement, making sure that we can social distance across the site. As it currently stands at the moment, we still can't have indoor football or futsal. This is something the FA is still working on, and we're waiting for further guidance. Yeah, move on, please, Mark. Okay, so that's the COVID update. So is there any questions on the COVID update that anyone's got at this moment?
There's nothing in the chat either. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. As we go through, if anything comes to mind, even if it's a topic that's previously been covered, then please just pop the question in, and we'll do our best to answer it. So just me again. Apologies that it's my voice again. So just to look briefly at a funding update in terms of where we're at and the benefits that you as clubs have had from funding as it currently stands. So during April to June, with the COVID crisis, the Football Foundation have released money for pitch preparation and club preparation to support facilities being ready for when the season started. So as you can see, we've had a substantial amount of money invested into our club facility sites over the last couple of months for that. We've also got a partnership with a company called Handback. So anything in terms of hand sanitizer that's required for the clubs, there's an opportunity of 10%. So yeah, so well done to those clubs that sort of drew that down. And obviously I know there's been some difficulties with some facilities in terms of being able to draw that money in because of the criteria, but yeah, quite successful to get sort of over £200,000 for our sites. The other thing is around small grant funding. So this is, and I think we've been a bit inundated actually over the COVID period for clubs that have been wanting to access money. I think they've seen it on the foundation website for things like goalposts and storage containers, portable floodlights. We had quite a lot of that. So this is accessible to, you know, any club that's interested, that wants to look at getting some funding to help enhance what they've got, can look at this. They don't necessarily need to have a lease or anything like that, which they probably had to have for the pitch prep. So say from January to August this year, we've drawn down just over £400,000 on predominantly goalposts and fencing. And that's still open, that remains open and will stay open. So if clubs have a project they're looking at or interest, and predominantly that's 70% funded by the Football Foundation, then please get in touch. Obviously this money doesn't touch upon the fact that there's Football Stadium Improvement Fund for those in the National League system, and also the larger project funding, which we've had some successful 3G and pavilion builds successful for funding. So yeah, so that's not including that. So a decent amount of money has been invested, sort of over £500,000 into small funds across Nottinghamshire in 8 months or so. If you just pop over to the next.
Sorry, Leanne, there's just a question from Paul. How do we apply for the small grants funding?
Yeah, I just saw that pop through. If you just pop to the next slide for me. Anticipated it.
Here we go, beautiful.
So this is just a screenshot of what you can see. So if you go into the Football Foundation website, they've just changed sort of in the last couple of months what their website looks like. When you go in and it says looking for funding, you'll be able to see there's different categories there. So it might be enhanced maintenance equipment, portable floodlights, goalposts, pavilion refurbs, changing room refurbs, things like that. What you can do is you can just click straight on that and it'll take you to the application form. So depending on what it is, if it's a goalpost, a lot of clubs will just go straight in there and click on the goalpost and look to apply and get the 70%, and they can find out in a couple of weeks and have that money to them. But I say, if there's any questions, if it's a bigger project or we're not sure if you might be eligible, then just get in touch with myself and I'll be able to talk you through it. But the actual application form, if it's a small grant, is pretty straightforward, and they are turning them around pretty quickly, really, 2 to 3 weeks, and you've got decisions. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it from me. So if there's any more questions on either COVID update or funding for now, just let me know.
Guys, if you want to ask a question, we'll give you 30 seconds. Raise your hand or pop it in the chat. Okay, so Lucy, if you want to unmute yourself from Calverton and ask the question.
We had an email saying the bursaries were being withdrawn for the level 1 coaches. Is that correct?
We have got a coaching update coming up shortly. Was that an email from ourselves or from the FA Direct?
I think it was for, I'm just getting this info secondhand, sorry. I've been asked to ask. It was from a lady called Fiona, because we'd got 4 that were supposed to be done prior to COVID, and now we're being told the bursary's being retracted.
Yeah, so we've got a coaching update. Can we come back to this one and we'll pick it up on the coaching update in Charter Standard? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, Leanne, if I pass you over to on that with the coaches update on the football development.
Yeah, that's fine. No problem.
Cool. Okay, guys. Well, I'll move the slides on. So, Craig and Ezekiel, over to you.
Yeah, it's Ezekiel to start with, Mark, just in terms of DISIP, and then I'll pick up the slides after, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Good evening all. Hope you're all well. As Leanne said, really excited myself to be here because it does mean that we're that little bit closer to football restarting, so look forward to that. Governance update, particularly on sort of discipline from myself, very brief. So the first update that we have is in relation to our discipline changes, and the first is the admin fees for, so if you just want to click on Mark. So administration fees for our cautionable offences, so they've increased from £10 to £12, and your sin bins, so your temporary dismissals, are still not charged. So the increase in fees is completely out of our control. It's a decision made by the National Game Board. They haven't given a particular justification as to why this is, but as you can imagine, the effects of COVID, they've taken a financial hit, and I guess so have we as a county. So that's the first update. Secondly is an update in relation to your personal hearings. So as you can imagine, personal hearings now for misconduct charges for the foreseeable future will be delivered online, so virtually, which means that there won't be a requirement for travel, but all personal hearings will be done virtually online. We'll follow the same process as our regular personal hearings when we did them in person, with the secretary and also a panel that will be done and delivered online. With that, there won't be a particular change to the sort of process, other than the fact that it's going to have to be delivered perhaps via video call, or if a participant wants, then via correspondence or on a paper basis. Third update is that no participant under the age of 12 will be charged with a disciplinary offence. So any reported incidents will now be dealt with in an alternative way. So this perhaps might be, for instance, education intervention. It may be a call for a meeting. It may be a discipline working agreement that we put in place with the club to monitor the behaviour of this young individual. But if a child is under the age of 12, then they can't be called for a disciplinary process, in the sense that they can't be charged in a regular way. And just lastly, Mark, importantly, unspent suspensions must be served when the 2020-21 season restarts. So any unspent suspensions from the previous seasons from 19-20, they're going to have to be served when the new season restarts. The justification for this is that, of course, just because the previous season is null and void doesn't necessarily mean that your suspensions can be null and void. Quite simply, if there was an offence, a yellow card or a red card offence or misconduct that took place, that offence did occur, and therefore it's going to have to carry over to the new season, 2021. So very brief from myself. I don't believe there are any other updates at this time in regards to discipline. But if you have got any questions, then please pop it in the messages chat, and I'll keep an eye on there, and I'll pass on to Craig.
Yeah, I don't think there's any questions in hands. I don't think there's anything in chat, Mark.
No, I've got nothing, mate, at the moment. All right.
Okay. We'll come back to it if needs be. Okay, so just on technology and where we're at with technology just at the moment, I just want to give you a quick update on a couple of key things, really, just for tonight. We could go on and spend all day talking about the things with technology and what's happening with football administration. But really, some of the golden rules really for you to just remember is if you've got any queries about player registration, then player registration can come to ourselves, to myself, or to Julie Mitchell, or to Ezekiel, and we'll deal with those in the best way that we can if it's more local. If you've got any queries about full-time really is, although it's an FA piece of software, it's governed by the leagues. So if you've got a query about full-time that your administration right has gone, or that you can't see something, or there's something not integrating over, that is more about your league. So that would be your first port of call. Now, anything else, if you've got queries about player reg, match day app, full time, anything tech based, there is a platform that the FA now have, which is a really, really useful platform, which I'll direct you to. If you can just click onto the slide, Mark, so that the screen comes up. So these slides will come out to you, and this link is a live link, so you don't have to madly try and scramble down all of that text. And there's a screenshot there of what you'll see as the home page. Now, this is a service portal where you can log in for an account, and there's loads of FAQs and loads of community forums from people nationally who will be asking all the same questions as yourselves in there. And you will see, it's a little bit small on the screen, but there is a process whereby you can raise a ticket with the tech team nationally at the FA, who will always try to get back. Normally, my experience is within a 24-hour period. It is quite a quick turnaround time frame. So if you can't get your answer from locally from our county FA, certainly around things like player reg, my advice is to have a look and search this forum. It's really, really useful. Loads of knowledge-based stuff in there. Loads of FAQs where you can ask the question, you can look at some of the community forums and see if you can actually get some answers from other people. It's really useful. So go and have a look at that. If you can just scroll on to the next page, please, Mark. You can just bring everything up on this. That's it, thanks. So the other thing I want to just mention around technology for tonight is Player Plus Email. Player Plus Email is going to be mandatory from 21-22 season. So obviously we're talking about 21-22, which is quite scary that we've not started 2021 yet. However, it will be a really good time right now to start looking at your player data, because from the 21-22 season, unless your player has got an email address, you will not be able to complete the registration process. The FA obviously want data. They will need data. The FA want to communicate to its customer base. This isn't a marketing gimmick in that they're going to be selling this information on. It is not for that purpose. But the FA should know who their customer base is and who is playing the national game that they govern. The beauty about this is that you will be then requesting consent for players to play for your club online. The offline function will not be the most usable part of the registration process. Offline consent actually already has caught a few clubs out where they're automatically just confirming offline consent in the belief their player is going to play, and actually that player hasn't given consent. That player might move somewhere else. Then we get into a little bit of a regulation and disciplinary matter whereby there is a potential illegal approach breach, where one player is saying, I didn't sign for somebody, but they've automatically assumed and given that offline consent when actually they shouldn't be doing. So it can cause a few issues. So that forum and that platform will move. Now, I don't want to show you really what this looks like as a live feature for tonight. What you do when you log in as a football club and you log into the FA whole game system, underneath the tab where you have player registration, which many of you will know as a tab, it's firmly fixed in your minds now. Underneath there, you'll see one that says email capture. And if you click into the email capture tool, you can type people's email addresses in where it is needed. And that is even for the players who are under the age of 16. That was quite a big question. How do we get email addresses, or how do we create parents or guardian links for under 16 players? Now, those two links on the screen you see, one of them is for you as clubs, and the other one is for you to forward to parents and guardians for them to see the information. On those links, there are loads of useful downloads, and there's also a video that talks you through the process and shows you the screenshots. So there's no point in me showing you a live demo because it is there as a video the FA have produced. And it is really, really useful. So rather than asking parents to go away themselves and for you to try to create parents fans and for you to do that work, all you need to do is use the email capture tool, type in the email address of the parent or the player, send it to them through the system, through whole game system. It then goes to them for them to accept. They do the work. They will then create their profile and their user. So it's taking the work away from you as clubs. Yes, of course, parents and guardians might have to do a little bit of work in this, but it is to ensure the transparency and the integrity of the data. Okay, so you don't have to do it right now, but to get ahead of the game ready in preparation for 21-22 season, if you've got a little bit of time over these next few months, then it would be a good starting point. And there are some big football clubs, some big youth football clubs in the county. Obviously, you know, you will have a lot more data to go through. Some of the smaller teams, hopefully it won't be too onerous for you. But if there's any questions on that, let me know. But have a look at all of these links that we're going to send you in the live, in the screenshots, okay? That really is all that I wanted to update you on technology. And Ezekiel's obviously done the bit on discipline. There is also something that we wanted to update you on. It might be worth saying now around county cups, which we wanted to put on the agenda. At the moment, our county cup programme is still not confirmed as to how that might or might not take place for this current season. It has to be something that has to go to our council, and it has to be voted upon about the options that we may take for 2021 season. And there's a couple of options that are on the table. Wouldn't be appropriate for me to say now what they are, but for the clubs out there at affiliation, you were just asked to give an intention as to whether you would want to compete if county cup programmes took place. What will happen in due course is if the council say yes, that they will take place, or some will, some won't, we will come back out to those clubs and ask for confirmed commitment and then invoice you for the entry fee in due course. Obviously, if our programme doesn't go ahead this season, then we won't be coming back, you know, to ask you obviously for any confirmed commitment, and what you've confirmed in your affiliation, that will just be classed as null and void information. It won't go any further, and you won't receive any further invoices for it. Okay. Are there any questions on either anything for discipline or anything for technology before we move on?
So Craig, I've got from Anne Griffiths, is there a guide available for managers to show them how to use full time?
Yes, there will be. Either we can look at sending something out, or again, on the technology link on the slide before, Mark, there is a whole ream of information about full time in there. So that's it. On the technology page there within the FA, if anybody uses that link, it will take them through, and you can see at the moment where it says knowledge base, they separate it up. So one is about player edge, one is about whole game, one is about full time, one is about match day app. So there's a whole list of stuff in there about full time, about how to use it, about how to get access, about how information is integrated, about how to do your results, and how to put in the player data, all those things. It's all in that knowledge base. That's where I would first and foremost push people through to. If you can't get your answers there, then of course come back to us.
Brilliant. And there was one other question from Rachel at Sherwood. Has whole game system been unavailable today?
Yeah, I kind of didn't want to say I wanted to do a live demo, but couldn't because whole game was having a bit of a glitch for me this afternoon. So I think whole game has had some sort of a glitch today. It did for me. I don't know if it was isolated, but obviously if Rachel's had problems, then I think, yes, temporarily, I think it sounds like there's probably been a few issues, but there wasn't any alert nationally to say there was definitely work going off. I think there's just been a bit of a glitch.
Okay. There's no other questions other than that. So if there's any other questions through the next bit, just drop it in the chat and then also raise your hands. So cheers, Craig. Thanks very much, mate. So football development update for you. Just a couple of key points just to cover, just to make you aware. So if there is new clubs on the call that are looking to become charter standard, the charter standard scheme at the moment is kind of suspended, postponed by the FA, and they're having a big relaunch from the middle of September. That will obviously go out to all the clubs and show you basically a bit of new branding and a bit of an update. The criteria for the time being remains the same. There is no difference. I'll cover the coach ed requirement in just a second. And for those clubs that are on the call at the moment that are existing charter standard teams, you will be pleased to know that you will not have to go through the annual health check process this season. It will be an automated process as during the course of this year, a new charter standard program is being integrated and will launch towards the back end of the season and into 21-22 season. So that will be on your radar, and there'll be very clear guidance in terms of how that transition will cross over as well. So quite a very much helpful news that you'll not have to go through the health check as normal. Please note that doesn't mean that as a county we'll not follow up with clubs, check their progress, check where their coaching updates are all at, safeguarding, DBS, etc. That'll be part and parcel of the work that we do at the county. Some of you, well, all the charter standard clubs will have now received several mail shots regarding our partnership with Give to Local. So Give to Local is a national company working within a variety of sports now, but primarily within football and only to charter standard accredited clubs. It's an app-based program. It's completely free of charge for you guys to utilize. You just need to make contact with them, get set up, download the app, and it can link in with local businesses, link in with your existing membership to be able to put subscriptions and various offers onto that app. All the money that's raised within that app, other than a very small percentage that obviously the company take back for running the system, is given back to the club. So there has been situations nationally where clubs have raised, and teams in particular have raised, £500 to £1,000 to take their teams on local football tours or foreign football tours. So they're a good kind of charity builder. And obviously in this current climate, with you requiring as much additional help and additional funding as possible, that it seems a no-brainer for a charter standard club to sign up to. So if you haven't already joined and had a look at it, please have a look at it, and we'll circulate. When we circulate these slides, I'll circulate the link to their sections as well. I'll share this bit with Leanne because obviously Leanne will need to come in and answer Lucy's questions in just a second. But for coach education, which obviously has a big knock-on effect in terms of the charter standard programme as well, there will be no new courses delivered by the FA until March 2021. So some of you may be aware that the FA Education at St George's Park has taken all of the coach education back internally. So whereas we were a licensed centre and delivered on behalf of the FA, that will no longer be the case. We will be their local support mechanism of identifying need and identifying facilities. Well, that's what we believe. We're just waiting for official guidance. But the FA Education will take on all of the courses. Hence the reason why there is such a delay in terms of March 2021. But as you'll appreciate, face-to-face courses is very problematic to run in the current environment and the current restrictions that we are given to work to. So with that in mind, there is no new courses at all face-to-face to be delivered by the County FA up until that time period. All right. We are currently reviewing, because there's several coach education courses, level 1s, 2s and UEFA Bs, etc., that are so-called in flight. So our learners are already on a journey through their coach education qualifications, and we're currently looking at that in terms of how we support that alongside FA education. As you'll appreciate, that's slightly more complicated than it would like to have been, and then when we're liaising with FA education at the moment. All right. Most of the educational support pages for the FA are moving from Hive, if you're already a coach and been in part of their work and their group programs on there. They're moving across to the Boot Room, which obviously was a first of all electronic e-zine, but now is integrated into the FA.com and has its own space. And the courses and all the learning activities can all be found within those pages. So it's well worth a look and circulating that link around your club members. Within that, and linking back to Charter Standard, where a club are looking to apply for Charter Standard going forward for this season, they will be, and you would normally have a level 1 coach in place. They will be those previous level 1 courses are now at the moment for the interim are being replaced by a Playmaker course, which is free of charge for anybody to access. It's very straightforward. It takes 2 or 3 hours to complete. Focuses on basic setups of coaching sessions, understanding the player and the participant, safeguarding, and some basic first aid. I went through the course last week. It's very interactive, very straightforward to complete, and I recommend it not only for those new coaches that you're having an influx in terms of into your club at the moment, but maybe also for parents if they've got spare time to have a look at, and just to kind of get some basic understanding. So if you can point them in that direction, that would be great. All safeguarding renewals are online. There is an interim course called Safeguarding for All. Again, where new candidates are entering the system, we're advising that they go and take that course as minimum until face-to-face courses or the next step by FA education is put into place. So please, you need to be pointing yourself in the direction. And again, that's within the Boot Room section, and you sign in and you can open up your learning. The first aid qualifications. If you have got existing learners or existing coaches that need their first aid renewing from February, but I think it's between February, correct me if I'm wrong, Leanne, February this year to February next season 21. That has been extended for a season in terms of getting that all set up and supported. So where it's run out in that period of time only, then they are valid till the end of the next season. All right. So please be conscious of that. And I know from chatting to a couple of clubs recently that are on the call that was a concern for you. All right. Referee education. So again, referee education falls in a very similar situation as in the coach education program. The referees course was currently being redesigned with a whole new tutor workforce being recruited. And then obviously we ended up in the situation that we're in. That should have been launched by now. But with the situation we find ourselves in, there's obviously been quite a big delay on getting this rolled out. So the referees course, at the moment, we're waiting on an official date. We've been giving January as a ballpark figure, but I would imagine as coach education is looking to start around about March, the referee education will probably be the same. So there will be no new referee courses happening between now and let's say March or so, which is going to have a massive impact on your referee coverage for the leagues that are on the course, but also for the clubs who are on the course. please be expected that you are not going to see a referee on as a frequent basis as you would do previous at all levels of the game, or at all levels of the game. There was been discussions on Monday, and we've had discussions internally at Notts FA in terms of how we can reach out to potential learners to bridge a gap and maybe do a brief kind of a temporary recruitment drive and doing some online modules. So that is very much a work in progress, but we've got to be assured that certain criteria is in place for that to obviously happen, as you'll appreciate. So yeah, we're in a good, an interesting situation with referees. It gives you a bit of a context where we're at with referee registrations. Last year we finished at just over 800, and now we're sitting at around about 460. So that's quite a big drop compared to what we are used to. All right, so obviously we're working hard to try to sort that out. Before I face any other questions, Leanne, do you want to cover the bursary situation? Because obviously that was an area that you have been picking up on.
Yeah, sure. Obviously, Mark's in the situation with Coach Ed. The email that will have come out is indeed factual. There aren't going to be any, as it stands, there aren't going to be any level 1 bursaries as there has been in the past. We get funded by Sport England. Sport England fund the bursary scheme. As they have done for the past 2 years, I believe it is, and our funding for that ran out in it would have been June, obviously, but in reality there has been nothing claimed for that since February, March time, because we've not been in a position to be able to run any courses. So because of that, they aren't going to be repeating any funding, because obviously the courses aren't going to be sitting with us. So what that looks like come March time when they're sat with the FA, I don't know, and I don't have the answer for that. But as it stands, with the funding cuts that's been across the board for sport over the last couple of months, there won't be any funding for bursaries coming directly from us.
Okay, brilliant. Is there any other questions that anybody wants to raise over the football development update? Excellent. So, Elaine, I don't know if you want to just touch on the return to football for grassroots leagues.
No, possibly not, because I haven't seen this slide, so I don't know whether you want to carry on with it.
No worries.
What you're going to say.
I know, no problems. I'll pick it up. So, in order to obviously, there's some of the questions that was directed to us on the form that you submitted was relating to when grassroots is about to start. The dates listed on there are the dates. Obviously, the leagues have returned back to us. A couple of leagues, such as Mansfield Sunday, for example, are just holding off confirming their start date because of the risk assessments that the clubs have got to put into place. And obviously, a couple of other are reliant on return to play plans. These are all very provisional to a point, because we never know when the next week certain areas could be locked down. All right, so they are what the leagues are working to currently. So if you can help with the player registration process and your affiliations to get them into Craig and the services team, that would be great. So that's where they sit at the moment. So you should be receiving those informations from your leagues. Colin, you've raised your hand. Do you want to come in if you've got your dates confirmed?
Yes, not only that, Mark. I've been in contact with Mansfield District Council. They are not opening any of their grounds until 19th of September. So, of course, for Sundays, that means the 20th. So I'm not even going to be able to do anything until at least the 20th.
That's great. Thanks, Colin. Thanks for the update. If you can just obviously keep it afloat with ourselves over the next week or two in terms of where that sits, then we can obviously help with the clubs and obviously hopefully some referees that are in the system.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Colin. Thanks for the update. Anne-Marie, so I've got a question for probably ourselves, Leanne. Some coaches already started level 1 courses with the FA Bursary. Obviously, courses have got cancelled. Have they been cancelled as well as any new bursaries? So that's referring to the in-flight learners, isn't it?
Yeah, so anyone that has started a level 1, anyone that started a level 1 course that hasn't completed it because it's got postponed due to COVID, but they have done a module. We're just currently creating our plan, and we're going to be working with those, and we're going to do our best to get the in-flight learners through the system, because I think some courses have literally got about 3.5 hours to go. So we're going to work with them. Anyone that was booked on a course that hasn't started are not classed as in flight. So we will be again working with them in terms of so those that have paid, we will work with them around refunds or transfer it onto an FA course if they wish. So again, we've got that list, and we're going to work with them and create the plan. But those that haven't started a course with a bursary won't be able to get a bursary for any new course starting up.
Brilliant. Cheers, Leanne. We've not had any other questions, so I'll roll it on. So thanks. That's the updates directly from the County FA. We are open for questions on anything that's been discussed. Hopefully we've answered most of your questions that were submitted in the initial form. So we have tried to tailor the presentations to hit that target. But if there's any other questions, I'll open it out to you now. Please raise your hand, and then we'll come to you, and you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay, Julie at West Bridgford, if you want to unmute yourself. Julie, if you want to unmute yourself.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Brilliant.
Great. Just a question in relation to risk assessment. So we've produced one, and I just wondered, when we are arranging fixtures, does that need to be sent to each team when you before every match?
Okay, Leanne or Craig, I can see your faces.
Sorry.
Which one's gonna... So I'll throw Leanne and Craig under the bus for that one.
I was waiting for Elaine to jump in with that one, if I'm honest. Essentially, the way that it needs to be with the risk assessments is all parties need to be understanding of the risk assessment. So if you've got clubs travelling to you and you've created that risk assessment, they need to be able to see that. So yeah, unfortunately, it needs to be team by team, because obviously the managers need to know the process, they need to know what's in place, they need to know what the expectations are. So unfortunately, Julie, for all 100 teams that you've got,
Okay.
it's probably just looking at the best way to share that, and maybe that might be a conversation with the leagues, and if there's an option, something the leagues can do. I know that I sit on the committee for the East Midlands Women's League, and one of the things we're looking at providing a secure portal for only for managers, so that they can access risk assessments rather than it having to be shared directly all the time. So it may be worth just picking up with the league and see if there's something they can help with.
Okay. Yeah.
Julie?
Yeah. Hello.
Also, possibility, the club has its own website, doesn't it?
Yes.
So if there's a mechanism whereby you might have a place where the risk assessment can be placed.
Yeah.
When the managers are organising their details, so West Bridgford Wildcats under 8s versus the Red Lion under 8s, for example, and the managers are in communication, if there's a mechanism maybe there where the manager can let people know that the most current West Bridgford risk assessment, because it should be a fluid document that you may well reflect on and also update, that the latest risk assessment you hold as a club is there to be accessed, then then that might be a method, because in the National League system, the clubs are being advised, obviously they send their risk assessment to the league and place within their website and their information. Obviously appreciate your challenges, as Leanne's just said. You know, you've got 100+ teams across your girls, boys, disability seniors. You've got a big challenge logistically on your hands there. So, you know, possibly if there's a way that you can just place it on the website and maybe do a communication piece around that. It's just whether the information's secure by placing it on the website. I don't know if you've got a forum or a mechanism on your website where you can maybe allow people access to.
Okay, yeah, it's definitely something I can look into. I mean, we have got one on there. Happy to share it, you know, with anybody that wants to. I just want to be clear to coaches. So are we saying for every match you go and play, you must have read that venue's risk assessment, that club's risk assessment? Because we're all doing these and everybody's asking for them. I just want to be clear on what the expectations are.
Yeah, and I think, you know, every club is going to be different. Risk assessments are all going to be different because every site you're going to go to and visit, they're going to be different. And that team have got to go in preparation, knowing what to expect. That, you know, at the moment in this climate, to turn up to a venue unprepared, to not know what they're sort of walking into and facing, is going to be extremely challenging. They're going to need to know from the moment that they access that site and how to access that site. Where do they park, or how do they park? What is the movement process from that park to, are they in the National League system and need to use a changing facility, or where do they put their kit, their equipment? They need to know what to expect. That's the biggest concern, that they're just going to walk in unknown and not know what's going off, and that has to be clear. So it will be about sharing that information and making it absolutely crystal clear what they're going into.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
But sorry, I know that's a lot of work for you.
It's fine. It's fine. We've gone. You know, we've all put the work in preparing it. So, you know, absolutely. I just want to make sure there's a consistent message out there that we're all doing the same. So that's great. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Is there any other questions before I roll on to the last slide? Okay, I'll pass over to... Oh, hang on a second, sorry, before the suggestion is to put your risk assessments on your own website. Come from Paul, that might be useful for West Bridgford. I think, Julie, you were thinking about doing that as well anyway, so brilliant. All right, so Elaine.
Yeah. Oh, we've got another question
from
Alwyn.
Alwyn, if you want to unmute yourself, that's fine, and ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, mate. Yes, we can.
Right. I'm taking it the risk assessment's got to be sent to the referees as well.
Good question. Yes, in theory, it should do on the match confirmation. All right, so all participants. But again, I think if that the suggestion that Paul's made in the chat box, if it's published on your website, if you direct them, you've done the hard work there, haven't you, in terms of posting it, compiling it, posting it, and then just sending the link to the match officials.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Just give it 30 seconds for anybody else to jump in and ask a question. Okay, I think you're good to go then.
Okay, I really just want to thank you all for your time tonight. I hope you found it interesting. Lots of topics, lots of things to update you on, and I'm sure we'll be doing many more of these to try and keep you informed of any changes and things like that. But also to say that we do appreciate all the additional work that the COVID-19 requirements are putting on clubs and secretaries and volunteers. And we can only say a big thank you for trying to get grassroots football back up and running. And we'll offer and provide as much support as we can with that. But you know, a huge thank you to you, because it is an additional strain, and we do fully appreciate that. You know, I've seen Leanne trying to get our county FA headquarters ready for opening again, and that's been a huge challenge on its own. So I can only, you know, really imagine what you're going through every weekend, or going to go through every weekend. So a huge thank you to you all, and stay safe, and we look forward to seeing some of your games take place shortly. But thanks very much, and thanks for the staff for putting this on tonight. It's really good. Thank you.